What's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Redefining Issued Equipment. And this is part 4 of the IOTV setup, and this is going to focus primarily around just mollying pouches straight into the front flap as well as the cummerbund for your setup. Now, in my opinion, this is the most streamlined way you can set up the entire IOTV system, and this is how I ran things when I was in the infantry a couple years, or I should say 10 years ago. And this is my recommendation when it comes to setting up your IOTV, so that way things are streamlined. You're setting yourself up for success. You don't have anything inhibiting you from being able to shoot, move, communicate, and medicate, getting up and down out of different shooting positions and moving from cover to cover. So this is definitely how I prefer doing things. I have added a little bit specific to Grenadiers and some things that I figured out with these M9 Kydex pouches from Eagle Industries, but you can find all of this stuff either in your issued equipment from CIF, or you can get this off of Venture Surplus. They have a bunch of gear that you can get that's former gear that was utilized by the Navy SEALs, Ranger Bat, and Special Operations guys. So you do have a lot of very high quality pouches that do last a very long time. They have a good reputation, and they will endure pretty much anything you put them through. So as you can see with some of these pouches. So with that, I'm going to dive right into this. When it comes to the setup, you have your admin pouch. I would highly recommend having an admin pouch if you need one for administrative purposes, having admin data, GRGs, maps, small little components that you may need, throwing everything in there. You have the Velcro for name tags, placards, patches, all that stuff. And then if you want to go as far as having one with a little flashlight holder or accessory holder, have that on there as well, so then that way you can run flashlights, multi-tools, 40 millimeter grenades if you want to throw those in there, and flashbangs as well. You can also fit an Enola Gay burst smoke grenade in those as well, so that's something if you want to take that into consideration. From there, I have everything mollied in. I tucked the bottom of this underneath the magazine panel, so that way it doesn't interfere with drawing mags, because what you'll find with, if you do run this on top, is it may interfere just a little bit, but guys that run those really big admin pouches up top, it can interfere with drawing mags and rapidly being able to reload their weapon system or just get a fresh mag into their gun, or it'll interfere with trying to transition from shoulder to shoulder with that rifle. So I advise and recommend going with something low profile and streamlined like that. You really don't need a lot when it comes down to it. So from there, when it comes to the 3-mag panel, I would go with the 3-mag panel, whether you get this Eagle Industry one with the elastic retention already on there, or if you want to just use your issued pouch that's a 3-mag panel and integrate those elastic tabs and pull strings, or pull tabs with elastic loops on them. You can throw that on there as well, and it just helps retain things for certain operational environments like maritime and airborne. So if you're jumping out of an aircraft, air assaulting in, or on the water, you have something retaining your mags in place. And then when it comes to the molly that you can run on top of your 3-mag panel, I would focus that for all of your essential mission essential gear and duty position gear. For this, I just threw a bunch of the Eagle Industries M9 Kydex pistol mag pouches on here, because what you can do, as you can see, I have this 3D printed 40 millimeter round. You can cut the Kydex liner that is on the interior of this, pull it completely out, take that 40 millimeter round, shove it right down in there. You still have the flap, so if you want to be able to Velcro everything in place and retain those rounds and have that extra retention, you have that capability as well. And then the fabric is tight enough that it puts enough tension on the round to where it's going to hold it in place, so you don't need that flap on the exterior of it folded over. So I think this is an awesome pouch and setup that's really inexpensive. It's going to cost you $3 for like 1 or 2 of these from Venture Surplus. So you can get a ton of these for the front of your kit. If you want to go a couple on the sides here, you can do that. If you're running a gun belt and you want a rifle mag and pistol mags in a dump pouch, but then you want to have a couple of 40 millimeter grenades on your belt, you can do that as well. So I think it's an awesome, inexpensive option that's a reliable option to be able to run all of your kit that way, and save you a lot of money in the long run versus some of the really expensive options that are out there. So You can run 5 comfortably on top of a 3-mag panel. You start getting real tight with 6, and it can be difficult to put some of the rounds in there if you go with 6. So just keep that in mind when setting things up for a Grenadier. I put flashbang pouches off to the side because you can fit some of the larger 40mm rounds in there, like your smoke and illume and flares. So you have some options with that. And then on this other side, I would run a radio. Just be cognizant of the fact if you have, or if you're right hand dominant, forgive me, if you're right hand dominant, oh man, if you're right hand dominant and you're trying to shoulder that rifle, if you have this over on this side and your antenna is getting in the way, it can inhibit you from being able to shoulder that rifle quickly. I would just rotate that radio over to the left hand side, run antenna relocators similar to or like this Disco 3.2 antenna relocator with the Raptor Tactical retainer for the actual antenna. You can run that over your shoulder if you get one of the longer ones, or you can run it around the cummerbund and then attach your antenna to the back of your IOTV in your system. So if you want to front load your radios, that's an option when it comes down to it. And then I would just keep the sides of your cummerbund as streamlined as possible and as minimal as possible, so that way it doesn't push your arms out, give you kind of that penguin waddling effect or duck waddle effect. On the back side, if you want to back mount your radio, by all means you can do that. Sometimes that may or may not be feasible if your unit is dictating a certain place for your med kit. Sometimes, and most usually, I often find that it's on the left hand side behind the arm that people want the med kit. I don't like that, just because if I have to ditch my entire kit and my med kit is on my IOTV or on a plate carrier or whatever, then I lose that eye factor, that med kit with that entire body armor system. So I would run your med kit on your belt, just because if you ditch your kit, you still have it. And then you can run that radio on the other side. If you're going to run your radio on the back of your cummerbund, just run a antenna, or not antenna relocator, run a KDU and a cabling through your shoulder strap, and then that way you can adjust and manipulate your radio, the channels and everything with that KDU. And then I would run this entire system that I have set up, like in the previous episodes, on how to set up the back. So with that, if you have any questions, this is how I would run the IOTV if I was required to run it right now. This is how I ran it in the past, and it worked out really well for me. It helped keep things real low profile and streamlined, so that way I wasn't having issues with being able to efficiently be able to shoot, move, communicate, and move from position to position, cover to cover, manipulate that weapon system. So if you have any questions, please feel free, leave a comment. We'll answer any questions that you have, help you out in any way when it comes to setting up your kit. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.